Welcome to Whispers to a Bride, where we talk about the stuff no one else is talking about. We are going deep on the emotional aspects of getting married, the stress, drama, and turbulence that affects your own sense of identity and your closest relationships. We are talking about what it means to be a bride and how to navigate this sacred time with more grace and ease. I'm your host, Kara Gasabay. As a life coach and therapist, I'm going to be sharing super practical tips so that you can not only rise to the occasion of your wedding, but also your life. Hello, and welcome back. I am so excited to talk to you today about just like a fun way to think about your wedding, and that is your wedding as art. Yes. So I feel like, obviously, if you've been around here for a while, you know I love a good metaphor. It's such a useful way of getting our brain into a little bit more of a creative space, which helps with problem solving and just being a little lighter and less sort of rigid and sort of dialed in on getting results and getting things perfect the way that we want them, which often happens in wedding world. And so I just love to take a step back and get a good metaphor going. And so the one I have been wanting to talk about for a really long time, I'm surprised I haven't gotten to it yet, is the idea of your wedding as art. And I could also title this episode, Your Wedding is Art, because I really do believe that your whole life is art, right? Like your one way of expressing yourself in this world among the billion people and even more billion ways in which you can live a life, that in itself, like it is an art, the way that you do it. And not only the what you do, but how you do it. And so I really love this idea of taking a step back and looking at your wedding as art, because it's gonna, I think, re-inspire you to fall back in love with your wedding, because often in the wedding planning journey, there's these highs and lows, right? There's these times where we're like, oh my gosh, I love it. And we fall in love with the potential of it. And then sometimes we can get into a low when we realize like, the reality of it, right? When you really have to figure out all the logistics and the budget and the vendors and the timing and the travel and what's required, it can be like you can fall out of love with it. And then the more that things start to come together, you might fall in love with it again. And there's just a lot of ways in which your relationship to your wedding can be a bit volatile and a bit of a roller coaster. And so when we stop and look at it as art, instead of as a project or an event or some other, I think those are the two ways in which we usually think of it, the big day. If we think about it as art that we're creating and that we are bringing other creators into the process of making a thing, it just kind of loosens you up and gets you energized in a different way. And I really do think weddings themselves lend themselves to this idea of an art metaphor, because more than any sort of other time in our life or event or experience or occasion, art is really showcased, right? Beauty is really, really prioritized. And we've discussed the ways in which that can be tough, but at the heart of it, it's awesome, right? This is the day in which you are encouraged to be abundant in beautiful things, like bringing in beautiful flowers that you would never treat yourself or your guests to on any other day, bringing incredible food and drinks and music and tablescapes, outfits, right? Like there's so much, the decor, just the whole vibe. It's just very much utilizing so many different forms of art sort of culminate in this moment. And when we think about too, just the photography and the one takeaway from their wedding, besides what really happened and the changing of our sort of legal, spiritual relationship status is the pictures and the photography. And people think often that that is the art that will matter in the end. And so they can put a lot of focus on, do we have the matching robes for the bridesmaids? And does this look like this? And how to try to capture that perfect artwork in the photography. But I think it's so important just to broaden that lens and to pull back and see the whole thing as art. And when you do that, it can just open you up in so many ways. One of the things I love to do with clients is you can pick out like one of your favorite paintings, whether that's something in your house or whether that's just go on Google and just like think about artwork that speaks to you, and then think about the ways in which you can bring that into your wedding, or you can go the opposite. What are the ways in which your wedding already that you've planned out reminds you of a painting or another piece of art? It could be music, it could be anything. In my mind right now, I'm thinking a lot about paintings. And one of the things that, again, there's a million directions we can go in, but I like to keep these short. But one of the things that I want to remind you about artwork is that there is, in great pieces of art, there's this tension, right? And that tension is almost inherent in the quality and the beauty and the like evoking of an emotional response that artwork creates. And we don't often appreciate it, that it's the tension that matters. And so when you're in your wedding planning journey, or whether you are navigating your wedding day and you experience things that are unexpected, unplanned, not going the way you wanted to, those are those moments of tension that feels like something's going wrong, but really when you step back and look, it is that counterbalance. It's that opposing force that is actually creating the beauty, and it's capturing people's attention, and it's making people lean in, and it's making them have a feeling. So if you think about like, there's so many ways in which a wedding can have this tension that I think most people are scared of. But when you look back, right, you can often appreciate the beauty, but it's helpful, I think, to try and appreciate it going in. And so there's just lots of ways to create the tension. What's coming to mind for me is when you see this really, really high end, just over, like very, very beautifully executed, fabulous, sort of perfect looking wedding with all of the things, very effortful. And then a bride who is maybe just like effortless. And like the juxtaposition of those two things, the tension of like, we thought she would be very like a certain way, and then she's just this carefree, like loose energy. And it just kind of is a really cool juxtaposition. Or when you have a very minimalist wedding, right? There's not a ton to look at. That's almost like that blank space in artwork. And that blank space, right, is doing a huge job of highlighting one particular aspect. So when you see these sort of very minimal looks, it's forcing the brain to like appreciate and care about the one thing that is put forth. Sort of like those micro weddings that we saw a lot. We're all like, why do we love this so much? And it's because it was like whoosh, like you just strip away some of the extra stuff that can sort of blend in and be noise to our senses, and really, really focus on just that one image, that one moment, that one, saying of the vows, whatever it is that just pulls you right in. And it's the work of all that blank space that was created, everything that was taken away, right? The 200 person guest list was taken away. All of these other things were taken away, and we were just left with this, but it was still so artistic and it was so beautiful. And that's the thing too, when people say like, I love weddings, it's like the same way that you can love art. You certainly are going to have your favorites and your preferences. Like I love a landscape. I love impressionism. Like I love florals, but I can always appreciate like all artwork because it is so specific and it is so unique and it is wonderful in so many ways. And I think that's the same with weddings. It's just like they can be so different and they can be not your taste, but like there's a thing that's happening. There's the creation of something. There's the putting forward of beauty and love and expression and emotion in this really cool way that just, I think is just really fun. And it's funny because a lot of the advice I give my post-wedding blues brides is about putting their wedding in the museum, put it behind glass. And that's because there's so much sort of emotional stirring that usually happens after, like things that they wish they had gone differently, or they want to hang on to it and redo it and like overwork it, right? You know that there are those artists who get very, very stuck and they cannot complete and be done and let it go. That can happen to brides in the same way. And I always say, like, at some point, you have to put your wedding behind glass because it will change over time. And that is so true in the art world, right? Like, we've seen artists that like produce all this work, like nobody really cares. And then, you know, after they die, all of a sudden someone discovers it, someone makes it famous, everybody loves it. It hits its stride like way later, and the value is there and the appreciation is there. And like, where was that before? Like, I am telling you, the same thing can happen for your wedding. You might wake up the day after and be like, I mean, I guess it was okay, but put it in the museum of your mind and wait and see. And in 5 years, look back at it and you'll have a whole different emotional response to it. It will change in your heart and mind and memory in the same way that our appreciation of art often changes over time. It's just a really cool thing. So there are a lot of parallels and a lot of ways in which your wedding as art metaphor can work. But today, I just want you to take away that idea of like the importance of tension. And so just as what makes the emotion and makes the connection and makes the beauty really shine. And then also the idea that your relationship to it will change, and that's okay. And to expect that, and the value of your wedding, all that money you spent, will actually probably increase over time when you look back, because you are creating something so special, so unique, so you, and so important to your personal and family narrative and the whole arc of your history. And so anyway, I'm so curious like what you guys think of this and all the other ways in which your wedding is art and your life is really art. It's just a great, great reminder. One of my mentors has started signing off all of his things that your life is art. And I'm like, yes. And I think maybe seeing that is what prompted this episode that has been in the works for so long for me to really bring it forward. Like, if your life is art, then yes, your wedding is art. Like, we can all agree on that. So I hope this is helpful. I hope this is fun. I hope this just gives you a different way of looking at it, because I'm telling you, changing the lens can change everything. So, I am always just so eager to hear from you, and I love your feedback. I love your reviews. We are coming up on episode 100. So if you have not, I would absolutely love it if you could leave a rating and review so that other brides can find us. That way I can keep this commercial free. And also, I'm going to be picking someone to send a $100 Sephora gift card to. So enter right now your review so you could maybe win some makeup, because hello, if you're a bride, you're probably spending way too much money in Sephora anyway. So otherwise, book your bridal session. Find me on Instagram, TikTok. Let's chat. Love you. Cannot wait to see you and be with you and chat with you soon. Until then, I am wishing you nothing but bridal bliss.